The psychology of doing nothing for men. You don't realize how much doing nothing for men can change your entire life. I'm not just talking about being in a relationship. This ideology will save you time, money, heartbreak, and it will even save you bodies. But how can a concept so simple be so drastically life-changing? Well, on today's show, I'm going to answer that very question by diving deep into the psychology of doing nothing for men. And by the end of this episode, you'll see why this is the best and only way to deal with men if you want happiness, peace, and power. Let's start by discussing a concept that will sound very negative at first, but it actually is very positive. You will repel men, but you will specifically repel the wrong men, the men that you are not looking for when you understand how to do nothing properly and why it is so amazing. Here's how this psychology works. See, the men who want to take advantage of you, they want to use you, they want to extract from you for their own benefit. They need you to be overly invested. They need you to be overly emotional. They need you to overcompensate and overexplain and overdo things, because through that investment, they're able to control you because they have something to feed off of. But here's something that'll sound really weird. When you practice the art of doing nothing for men consistently, the men who are looking to take advantage of you will literally be unattracted to you because there is nothing to sink their teeth in to be able to take advantage of you with. And if I as a man know that I'm only here for the purpose of benefiting myself by extracting from you resources, time, energy, girlfriend treatment, what's in between your legs, and I know that you are practicing the art of doing nothing for men and you're doing it very well and you're doing nothing for me, I'm gonna say, well, this is kind of a waste of my time. And that's where I have women tell me the statement that I hear all the time when I tell them to do nothing for men. They always say, well, Tomisin, when I do nothing for men, they do nothing for me. Precisely. That is exactly correct, because that is exactly what we want. And I'm gonna explain why this is so amazing in the next point. Because you're doing nothing for men, and it naturally repels the men who are trying to take advantage of you and use you. You end up having a lot of clarity in your life, because when you meet men and you date them and you get to know them, their intentions become really, really obvious to you. They only sit in one of two categories. Either they are taking action for you and they are intentional with you, which means that they have a desire for you and they have interest in you, or they are not taking action for you, they are not being intentional with you, which means that they have either disinterest in you or they just don't like you that much. Either way, it becomes extremely clear when you start doing nothing for men, because when you're doing nothing, all that's left is whatever he's doing or not doing. And I don't want you to get this mistaken. Men have absolutely no problem doing for the women who they actually like. Anytime you hear a guy try to convince you that, oh, we as men, we need you to invest too in order for us to like, no, they don't. No, they don't. When men decide that they like you, they have made the internal decision to like you regardless of what you do. You could take off your socks and have 9 toes. If he's already decided that he likes you, he has made the decision for himself regardless of what you do, what you say, or how you act. In fact, he will convince himself that even the things that you do wrong are right because he's decided that he likes you already. You will gain immense mental clarity when you realize the men who are not doing for you are not interested in you, and there is no in between. And because I am so dedicated to teaching you how to do nothing for men, I have started a new community that is specifically for women who want to gain power in their relationships with men. And no surprise, the community is called Do Nothing for Men. In this community, I'll be going live, building step-by-step courses that will only be available in the community, answering questions, and giving a few amazing students the chance to work with me one-on-one. Click the first link in my description and you'll be able to access this community right now and watch my very first in-depth training only for the community members. For this next point, I want to talk about anxiety and how it's so amazing that when you begin doing nothing for men, you stop having to second guess yourself, especially as it relates to like, what does he want? Is he interested in me? Or is he not interested in me? Or is he just busy with work and really actually kind of wants to talk to me, but just can't because of the stuff he's got going on? There can be so much noise And all of the noise and the voices and the explanations and the stories and the hypothesis, they cause you to just have this consistent, persistent anxiety. But when you adopt the mentality of doing nothing for men, you're more easily able to accept the idea that it's not would've, it's not should've, it's not could've, it only is. You accept the fact that when a man wants to take action for you, he will take action for you. When he wants to reach out to you, he will reach out to you. When he wants to ask you out on a date, he will ask you out on a date. And you also, and even more importantly, accept the idea that if he is not reaching out, it is because he does not want to reach out. If he is not asking you out on a date, it is because he does not want to ask you out on a date. And I know it seems very simple, but it's only simple when you adopt the mentality, I am not going to do anything for men. Because naturally, when you feel that anxiety and you feel that desire to overcompensate because you're like, I think that he doesn't really like me, but maybe he's just busy at work. So maybe I should send him like 3 or 4 texts so that he can be reminded of my existence. And when he's reminded of my existence, then he'll realize that how bad he wants to take me out. No. Your anxiety drops the moment you say, whether or not he is doing the thing that I want him to do, I am still going to do nothing for that man. Because that is my lifestyle, that is my philosophy, that is how I live, regardless of which guy I'm with. And simultaneously, as you do that, it stops being so anxiety-inducing, trying to figure him out. You just let him exist and be and do as he pleases. And you sit back, relax, and observe what he's actually doing. Don't forget, the show will also be available on Spotify as well. So make sure to click the second link in my description if you also want to watch the show from that platform. This next concept is a mistake I see a lot of women making who don't yet understand how to properly do nothing for men. They do what I call chase their losses. When you over-invest in a man very early on, let's say for the sake of example, you sleep with him on the very first date because you're thinking to yourself, well, I need to sleep with him on the very first date to keep him interested in me. Then what happens is you sleep with him thinking, okay, now he's gonna be more interested in me. He's gonna wanna date me now. I'm gonna be his girlfriend now. And then what happens is as he is less interested in you, as he pulls back, maybe he's texting you less, maybe he's calling you less, maybe he's showing you less attention. Now all of a sudden you think to yourself, well, I can't allow the fact that I just gave this guy my body to go to waste. So you start to feel like, well, instead of me looking to build a romantic relationship with this guy, let me just look to basically offer myself up to him like DoorDash, like Little Caesar's Hot and Ready Pizza. I'll show up to his place and I'll let him know that I'm ready to do whatever he wants me to do. I'll be a servant for his pleasure, essentially. And the reasoning that you feel that way and you're acting that way is because you're trying to chase your loss. As you feel like you're losing out on his interest, you're losing out on his attention, rather than accepting, I am doing nothing for this man. And in the process of doing nothing for this man, I am recognizing that his lack of interest, his lack of action is a sign of the fact that he doesn't truly desire me and want to be with me. Instead, you're trying to chase after the fact that you feel like you're losing the man, i.e. chasing your losses. So you chase that loss, and it creates this snowball effect where now you have less self-respect and less dignity because you're trying to salvage what you can left of the relationship or the situationship or the friends with benefits, and you're trying to just make something out of the scraps. And so what you end up making is, instead of having this relationship that's supposed to be romantic and supposed to have commitment, you end up saying, let me take the scraps and let me turn it into a friends with benefits situation where we kind of see each other, but we're not really friends because you don't really care about me and you don't really value me and you don't really even treat me like a friend would treat me and you don't really respect me like a friend should. But let's try and make it something so that I at least don't feel like I completely gave myself to someone who doesn't care about me. But when you start doing nothing for men, you stop having a desire to salvage your relationships. Why? Because you stop over investing in men very early on. That causes you to want to chase after your losses. See, it always starts with the fact that you are giving way too much to a man who literally hasn't done anything for you. And then you're now trying to say, okay, when I gave this much, I need to get something back for the fact that I gave to someone who's giving nothing to me, and I'm losing out on all of this time and energy I'm investing. This next one's gonna hurt your feelings, so just be prepared for this one. It will immediately become exponentially easier to never in a million years mother a man when you understand and practice the concept of doing nothing for men. Majority of the time you end up mothering a man, you're thinking that mothering him is gonna make him more interested in you and desire you more. Because as you get on the floor and you scrub the floor and you clean the dishes and you wash his underwear and you make him food and you make him breakfast and you feed him with a spork, that all of a sudden, as you're doing those things, he's gonna have more feelings for you. He's gonna feel more love for you. And it's a snowball effect. You continue doing, thinking you're gonna get something out of it. He becomes less interested in you. And like we talked about before, you start chasing your losses. And slowly but surely, you continue mothering him and continue mothering him. And then he gets lazier. So you mother him more. And he gets even lazier because you're taking on so many roles in the relationship, doing everything for him because either he's incompetent or because you feel like it'll make him like you more, or a combination of all of those things. And now all of a sudden, you're with this extremely lazy man who does nothing for you in the relationship. He doesn't even do anything for himself in the relationship. You do all the work. You do all the mothering. And you literally go from being a romantic partner to being someone who is like a caretaker. But you avoid all of that by doing nothing for men. And I know it's difficult, but when you step into the relationship from the very beginning and you say, if you need me to get on my hands and knees and scrub the floor in order for you to like me, then you never liked me in the first place. But when you accept that, you don't even have this desire to prove anything to him. And when you don't have that desire to prove anything to him, you never fall for the trap of mothering, trying to gain his interest, trying to gain his desire, trying to prove something to him, trying to show him that you're capable of taking on the responsibilities that he doesn't. In our next point, I want to explain to you that when you do nothing for men, you also have so much more control in the relationship. Let's paint a picture here. If you're doing nothing for men, then that means the only men that are in your life are the men who are approaching you because of their desire for you and letting you know, hey, I want you. I want to be with you. I want to get to know you. I want to take you out. I want to prove to you that I'm the man that you're looking for. And you sit back because you're doing nothing for men and you're practicing that every single day. You say, okay, perfect. Show me what you got. And he proceeds to have to do backflips and front flips for you in order for him to prove to you that he's the man that you're looking for. The reason that this puts you in control is because now that he's approached you first, and he said that he wants and desires you, you now get to dictate, okay, if you want and desire me and want and desire access to me because you approached me, I didn't come to you, I do nothing for men. These are the things I like, and these are the things I desire, and these are the things I don't like, and these are the things that make me very upset and I don't desire. And then he says, oh, perfect queen, princess, my lover, my everything, my world, Hayati, Habibi. Let me make sure I make an adjustment on how I act, on how I treat you, on how I do things, on what I get for you, based on what makes you happy. And I make sure I don't do the things that make you unhappy. Because he's so focused on, I want to be the man that you need, that you're looking for. I don't need to worry about what you're doing for me because I've already internally decided that I want you and I want to be your man. So when you tell me that these adjustments need to be made in order for you to be happier, or these adjustments need to be made because they're making you unhappy, I gladly make those adjustments because of my desire for you. And so you get to control how the relationship goes. You get to control what is allowed and what isn't allowed, which is a perfect segue into my next point, which is that when you do nothing for men, you also don't have to beg. The reason is when you set up your relationship that I only give access to men who I do nothing for. And when I do nothing for them, they don't care about that because they desire me and they still pursue me anyways. Now you end up in a situation where the guy that you're in a relationship with has decided for himself internally, I want her and I want to make this work with her. So when you ask for an adjustment or you tell him that an adjustment needs to be made, you don't have to say that multiple times. In fact, rarely do you even have to say it once. You just have to speak on the desire. And then he says, oh, honey, that's what makes you happy? Let me figure out how to make that adjustment. You don't even need to ask me. I'm already looking for how to make the adjustment because, again, I desire you. So the women that understand how to do nothing properly and they practice that, even when it's hard, even when they know that some men in return will do nothing for them, but they stick by their principles, they end up in relationships where they don't have to beg men for anything. Next, I want to discuss with you the idea of playing games, because when you're doing nothing for men, it will make it so much easier for you to be so unaffected by the games men try to play on you. In order for men to run game on you, play games with you, they need a source of energy. That source of energy comes from your overinvestment. That source of energy comes from your crashing out. That source of energy comes from you getting triggered. That source of energy comes from you over communicating, over texting. When he receives that source, he then says, okay, perfect. With that source of energy, I can now twist that up and manipulate that in order to control her, manipulate her, and play games with her. But without that source of energy, when you are doing nothing for men, you are giving them quite literally no investment. They have nothing to work with. It's very difficult for them to take advantage of you when they have no source and nothing to work with. So the idea of them playing games with you when you are literally not investing any of your time and energy into men is literally impossible, which is why it makes your life so much clearer and so much less filled with anxiety. Because very quickly and early on, when these men realize, oh, she's literally not going to invest in me. If I'm going to be here, it's going to be me investing in her, and I know I'm trying to take advantage of her and play a game with her, but I can't play this game with her because I have nothing to feed off of. I'm gone, and I'm going very quickly. And so the games never last very long, and even the games that they do try to play are very ineffective because they have nothing to feed off of. Here's a very interesting next concept as well. Your energy will be so much more reserved for you and yourself that, ironically, it will make you even more attractive to the men that you meet. Because I always say, men are the most attracted to the ways that you invest in yourself, not in them and not in other people. So ironically, as you practice the art of doing nothing for men and you get really, 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 really good at it, you conserve that energy that you can then reinvest back into yourself, your skincare routine, your hair, your eyes, your makeup, your body, your glow, your everything. And then what you'll notice is men will come across you and they'll say things like, I like your energy. You have this glow. You're just a vibe. I'm just so attracted to you. You're like magnetic. I love being around you. You're such a good person. And these men will feel drawn to you in ways that they don't even understand. But what it is the fact that you invest so much of your energy into you, you are attractive to them. You are magnetic to them. Notice they never fumble and stumble over themselves at the women who are on the floor scrubbing the floor for other men. Because they're not attracted to women who invest in other people. They're attracted to women who are self-centered. For my next point, I want to talk about impulses, because it's much easier to control your impulses when you are doing nothing for men. Let's say, for the sake of example, you've gone on 3 dates with a guy, and up until those 3 dates, you felt a good amount of his attention, his energy, and his consistency. But then all of a sudden, after that third date, you start to feel a little bit less of attention, a little bit less of texting and interest in you and caring about you and checking up on you. And then you start feeling to yourself, you're like, this is giving me a lot of anxiety, and I don't want to feel like he's losing interest in me. And so on the next date, you have this voice in your head. Don't let him lose interest in you. Don't let him lose interest in you. Keep him here. Keep him wanting you. Keep him desiring you. And so you become a little bit more impulsive and a little bit more emotional, and you allow those emotions to control you and force you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do if you were of a sane and clear mind. And so in this example, on that fourth date, you now put pressure on yourself that you feel like, I need to sleep with you on this fourth date in order to keep you interested in me. This is exactly why I need you to stick to the concept of doing nothing for men. When you say to yourself, I don't care what goes on, if that man wants me, doing nothing for him will not affect his desire for me. It will keep you in a grounded state that doesn't allow you to be impulsive and say, let me make a decision just for the sake of keeping him interested in me. No, no, no. A man will be interested in me if I do nothing for him, because he has already decided that he is interested in me based on how much I invest in myself. If that concept does not apply to him, then he is not interested in me. Which leads me to a very important concept we must discuss, which is the sunk cost fallacy. What this essentially boils down to is, when you invest your time and energy into something, it could be anything, because this applies to everything. As you are investing that time and energy into that thing, you become more invested in the fact that you've put so much of your time and energy into that thing. So when it comes time to decide whether or not you stop investing your time and energy into that thing, you rationalize the fact that you should continue investing your time and energy into that thing, because you've already spent a lot of time and energy invested in that thing. So even though it doesn't make a lot of logical sense to continue investing in something because either it's not benefiting you, maybe it's hurting you and making your life actively worse, you decide that the best use of your time and energy is to continue investing in it, hoping that eventually things will change even though they never have. And I see it all the time with women in relationships that they know are not working, that they know this man doesn't treat me well, that they know this man disrespects me or he doesn't value me, but they feel like I've already been with this man for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, a decade of my life. So if I end this relationship with him now, then all of a sudden I'm gonna have to recognize my loss in 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years of my life and realize that I've wasted all this time and energy on that man. So rather than realizing that loss, I'd rather just continue investing, hoping that my investment will sometime pay off in the near future. It never does though. And it's very sad, but it's very avoidable because when you adopt the mentality that you are going to do nothing for men no matter what, you avoid this idea of overinvesting and overinvesting to the point where you feel like your investment needs to be paid back and you need to get something out of it. So you have to keep investing in order to get something out of it. Now let's talk about time. Quite literally your most valuable resource. When you are born with a clock, a figurative clock that only ticks down towards zero from the moment you were born. Your time is your literal most valuable resource. And you save so much of it when you decide you are going to do nothing for men no matter what. Because yes, it is painful to experience the idea of doing nothing for a man that you like and then realizing he's doing nothing for you in return. So that definitely means that in that realization, he really wasn't as interested in you as you thought he was. That's a painful realization, I understand. However, imagine being able to experience that realization on the first date or even before the first date instead of the first year. And imagine how that stacks up when you go through this guy and then you date this guy and you date another guy. And instead of spending 1 year and another year and then 2 years and then 3 years and then 7 years of your life on all of these men who were not the right men, you can spend 1 day, 2 days, 1 date. And you can realize that, hey, when I do nothing for this man, he does nothing for me because his interest and desire was never really there for me in the first place. And I can find that out very early on by sticking to my principles. The other really amazing part about dealing with men when you are doing nothing for them is a lot of the fear around dating men and understanding what they want and understanding how they think and what games they're trying to play. That fear just seems to just go away because you start to feel like, well, I'm doing nothing for you. You're the one approaching me and coming to me, and you're the one that wants to date me and wants to be around me and get access to me. I call the shots. I'm in control. I don't have as much anxiety when I realize that I'm in control. When I have this power, I don't feel like I'm wondering what you want or what you think or what's important to you or how can I get you to like me. All I think about is what I need. All I think about is what I want and what makes me happy. And it makes it very easy to continue down the cycle of like, I date you, and even as I date you, I do nothing for you and I focus on me. And it's kind of scary because when you're in a relationship where you actually feel like genuinely, I have the power, you almost feel like, damn, is that all it took? I start doing nothing for men and now I have all the power in my relationships? Why was I bothering running around like a mad woman trying to chase around all of these men and prove to them things that never even got them to like me more in the first place?